All right, let's jump right in. If you've spent any time in the tabletop role-playing space, you're probably super familiar with mainstream kind of superhero fantasy mechanics. We're talking games like D&D, where your character can literally take a fireball straight to the face and, just sleep it off by the next morning. But what if you and your table are craving something completely different? Something where every single decision actually feels like life or death. Well, today we're taking a deep dive into an explainer on RedelfWorld. We're going to break down the core philosophy and the specific mechanics that make this system such a gripping, gritty alternative for tactical role-playing.
Because here's the thing. The entire foundation of RedelfWorld is built on this one core concept. It is an incredibly gritty, grounded, and genuinely dangerous alternative to your traditional epic fantasy. And we aren't just talking about slapping a darker coat of paint on the same old rules here. As you'll see, we're going to explore exactly how this system's mechanics, from how it handles your character's health to how you actually roll the dice, actively create a much more thrilling and realistic tabletop experience. This is a game where the world pushes back, and it pushes back hard.
Okay, here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. 1. Farewell to plot armor. 2. Realistic health and the VP versus KP system. 3. The core rules and the effect margin. And 4. The 3 pillars of the game. Let's get into it. Starting off with Section 1, Farewell to Plot Armor.
There is a massive philosophical divide going on here. Think about traditional RPGs for a second. In those games, players often feel like they're protected by these, invisible script barriers, right? They end up with these extremely high health pools at higher levels, which essentially turns them into predetermined, invulnerable heroes. RedelfWorld completely strips all of that away. The game world here is dirty and grounded. The choices you make have real, undeniable weight to them. You are absolutely not a superhero protected by the narrative. You are just a person trying to survive in a highly dangerous environment.
So what does this actually mean for you at the table? Well, it means you have to completely change your approach. You literally can't just kick down a door and charge into a room full of enemies expecting to soak up the damage. The real keys to survival here are strategy and planning. The system explicitly guarantees that there are real consequences for your choices. If you make a massive tactical error, the game isn't going to artificially save you. Strategy absolutely takes precedence over the illusion of being invulnerable.
Which brings us perfectly to our second point. Realistic health. VP versus KP.
This is where the game fundamentally simulates how combat actually wears a person down. Instead of one giant, abstract pool of hit points, your health is split into 2 completely separate resources. First up, you have vitality points, or VP. This is basically your stamina, your luck, your ability to narrowly dodge lethal blows. Think of it like a buffer. It's relatively easy to recover. But then you have body points, or KP. This is where we get into the meat and bones, literally. This represents real physical trauma. We're talking deep wounds and broken bones. When an attack breaks through your VP buffer and starts hitting your KP, things get very real, very fast.
And here's the crucial part about what happens when those body points start dropping. You don't just quietly erase a number on your character sheet while continuing to fight at 100% efficiency. No way. When you lose KP, your character immediately suffers serious status effects. You might start bleeding out. You might get incredibly dizzy. You might even drop your weapon entirely. There's honestly a kind of dark humor in watching a super confident, swaggering adventurer take one solid hit to their KP, instantly get dizzy, drop their sword on the floor, and suddenly realize, oh, I need to run away right now. It guarantees that every single combat encounter feels incredibly tactical and highly dangerous.
Moving right along to Section 3, Rules and the Effect Margin.
This right here is the elegant little engine running the whole shebang. For almost all actions, you roll a 20-sided die, add your relevant attribute, add your skill level, and you just need to equal or beat the target value. That's literally it. It's a beautifully unified formula that governs combat, exploration, and everything in between. It keeps the game moving so rapidly at the table, but the system actually hides a ton of depth right beneath this simple math.
Now, what's really interesting here is the effect margin, or EM. If you don't just barely scrape by the target value, but you roll much higher than it, say by a margin of 5 or a massive margin of 10, the game directly rewards you for it. It's not just about succeeding, it's about exactly how well you succeed. A high effect margin grants you immediate, tangible benefits. In combat, that could mean dealing a chunk of extra damage. During an investigation, it might mean uncovering way deeper, hidden information. This mechanic provides a fantastic flow to the game and actively encourages you to specialize your characters so you can consistently hit those big margins.
Let's zoom out a bit for Section 4, the 3 pillars of the game.
The holistic framework of playing RedelfWorld really rests on 3 distinct pillars.
First, you've got adventure and exploration. But keep in mind, because of those gritty mechanics we talked about, the environment and your resource management genuinely matter. You absolutely have to plan your travels. Second, social intrigues. You'll be navigating complex politics and rival factions constantly. And third, personal drama. The game focuses heavily on the personal stakes of the characters rather than, some generic sweeping prophecy about saving the entire world. It's grounded, it's personal, and it's tense.
So, if this sounds like exactly the kind of tabletop experience you've been craving, there is a fantastic resource to help you take that next step. Check out the step-by-step explainer called RedelfWorld Your First Adventure. It'll walk you through exactly how to build a character and show you how all these amazing mechanics we've discussed today actually function together in practice when you're sitting around the table.
Which leaves us with this final thought. You know the mechanics now. You know there's absolutely no invisible script protecting you out there. You know that every single hit could result in a broken bone or a dropped weapon. The stakes are incredibly real, and the choices belong entirely to you. So the only question left to ask before you sit down to play is your character actually ready to face real consequences? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy gaming.